All right. So Andrew Strickland, CEO, Code and Trust, which is a really good name for somebody like you. You live by a lot of codes and you live by a lot of trust. You're a CEO. I would actually call you a serial entrepreneur. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Let's talk really quickly about Code and Trust and what you guys do. And then I want to dig into, the lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur and also as somebody who works very closely with startups. So let's talk a little bit about Code and Trust and also the other one, Teamphoria.
Yes.
Right? Like that sounds like a fun place to be. So let's talk a little bit about where you are now, CEO, founder, chief creative officer, chief coding officer, like you're kind of all of the things. But let's talk about what you guys do.
Sure. Yeah. So Code and Trust, we solve problems with technical solutions. And a lot of times that looks like a mobile app, can also be a web app. But, our differentiating factor is we know you can find coding developers anywhere, right? You want to go to China, you want to go to India, right
but
down the street.
what about AI too,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Like, can't you just lean in on AI? Like, what's the unique proposition that you guys have at Code and Trust right now with
strategy on the front end to feel smarter is what I would say.
What does strategy on the front end actually mean?
What to build and or what not to build, right? So we were kind of talking about this prior to starting the podcast, you and I, but we worked with a client, an entrepreneur who was ready to spend $500,000 on custom software. And almost every single software development shop I know would gladly take that.
Of course, I would take it, and I'm not even a coder. I'd say, yeah, I'll just code.
I know. I'm sales at heart, and by nature, I started at ADP Payroll and was walking into shopping centers, and there's no soliciting signs. Those were for me.
You were soliciting?
Yeah, I was selling payroll. but the idea of the fact that you can think ahead of the curve, because as entrepreneurs, you're so focused on the vision. Sometimes you lose what seemingly is a smaller detail. In this case, became a $480K savings for this entrepreneur. Brad Kalopek, my creative director of product strategy. We have a lot of fun titles that don't really mean anything. We all just do things, and we all do a lot and wear a lot of hats.
How many people do you have?
Yeah, we have 13.
Okay, that's pretty good.
We've gone through ebbs and flows. We've had more, and we can dig into that. We had we failed fast at having a very large junior program and intern program, but you got to have the right systems and processes in place to be able to help with that, right? And so, unfortunately, we didn't at the time. We ended up having to, I guess, just cease the program and do some layoffs, which was a really, really tough moment.
It sucks.
I've had to do layoffs, unfortunately, several times in my career, and it never gets easier.
No, it's better to be on the other side, like getting laid off, than it is to do the laying off, in my opinion. I hate it. It hurts, and it's something you don't really ever forget, like ruining somebody's day like that.
I know. You really don't ever forget that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so would you consider yourself a startup?
Great question. Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
Very much so. And I'm not sure the startup mentality is ever going to leave us.
No, I don't think it will. Either you have it or you don't, right? Like I work at a company, I work at Bizee. We're on the Get Bizee podcast, right? It is a 21-year-old startup, right? It is a mindset of bootstrapping, right? And creativity and innovation, right? And if you ever lose those things, you stop creating, right? You become stagnant. And I think that everyone should be thinking like an entrepreneur, like a bootstrapper, right? Don't you think? Like it pushes you.
You asked about AI, right? And so ChatGPT, Claude, insert whatever model you might be using. But right now, being armed with AI, entrepreneurism should and is growing. You can figure out different gaps and start to prompt GPT. It's the next level Google search, right?
Right.
Google search They're attaching it to Gemini and they're pulling different information across the web. But what you can go down rabbit holes on ChatGPT and build full business plans. And so the right individuals see themselves as orchestrators, not GPT's going to do everything for me. It's I'm going to create checkpoints where I go and I review the material. And Ryan Meadows and I, Ryan traveled with me, he's my director of operations and just my guy. Him and I have been friends for a while, but we were talking about prompting, right? And the idea that the way you prompt is important because you want your AI engine to learn. And then you also want to learn alongside with it.
Right.
Not just the one-shot prompt just to do all your work. You want to feed it seeds that then get planted in you as well so you understand the output better.
Exactly. And, AI is a tool. And it is, it can make you lazy. But more than that, AI is also lazy. And, when I'm working with founders and startups, it is all about the prompting, but it's also everything you put into an AI agent is going into the machine, right? And so there has to be an awareness, right? Because you are giving away your intellectual property, your creativity, right? And it just goes into the machine and churns. And then pretty soon, like if you look at all the AI, let's take, for example, the ads that are out right now, right? The ones with people, it's very, very convincing. They're all sort of starting to look the same, right? And so it's a matter of, you just cannot be intellectually lazy, I think, with any kind of AI. I think you risk giving away that which makes you unique as a human, right? I don't know. It gets very meta, right?
Yeah. Like I've never thought about it that way. And we were chatting, and you said you were watching some of the videos. Did you realize those videos you were watching were probably an AI clone of me?
No, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so we've got we're in sort of a co-working space, if you will, and we've got some incredible entrepreneurs. There's a lot of shared ownership across the different products. So it's not like an open co-working space, but there's one entrepreneur there, Matt Grayson, who has Level Up Video, and it's super cool. You record for 5 minutes in front of a camera, and if you're someone like me that's always here, there, on a call, not in the office, right? It's tough to get in front of a camera in order to film the proper amount of content, right? And so 5 minutes, and you can talk about rainbows, puppy dogs, and butterflies. Smile, do some hand gestures, and Matt turns it into a video clone of you and just feeds it a knowledge base, a script that you can automate now with AI and have it listen to meetings and that sort of thing, and it just goes out in the world. What do you want your robot to go talk about? It's a different time.
It's crazy. And Adam is the producer of the Get Bizee podcast. We make AI videos every day, right? Because AI is a force multiplier, right? Like it can churn out paid videos that we run for Bizee. It can churn out, podcast level, quality looking content, but nothing, in my opinion, can ever replicate what we're doing right here.
Goosebumps.
Right?
Goosebumps. That's, as we obviously at Code and Trust run to tech, run to AI specifically, right? Individually, and especially me, I'm running to people. Because you can only get so far with GPT. You get real meat, real value in the human conversations. You get real validation in human conversations, real ideas. Nothing beats the human conversation. And I definitely have concern that people are losing that touch. They're talking to a robot all day. And the robot's going to tell you what you want to hear still, right? Depending on how you prompt. And if it doesn't,
you can manipulate it.
Exactly, right.
It's highly malleable platform.
Nothing beats someone sitting across from someone you trust and them saying, man, that's a terrible idea, right? And you take that to heart.
You do, and you feel it differently than you feel some sort of AI, when it's AI. I mean, we're just at like this really strange crossroad for humanity, right? Introducing artificial intelligence into our work and our lives and our happiness and our joy and our sadness, like it's It's a risky business. It's artificial, right? It's not real. It doesn't feel, yet.
Posts, videos,
Anyway,
you name it.
You're taking me down the dark path here, Andrew.
It should be an exciting path, right?
And it is.
And we're staying in Kirkland, and I was talking to a gentleman who's, if you're referring to me as a serial entrepreneur, he's exponentially a serial entrepreneur, and he was talking about his teenage kid, and they wanted a phone, and his statement was around learning how to leverage ChatGPT to do different things.
Right.
And so I think it's a really cool moment to progress learning and education, and just like anything else, use it as a tool.
Yeah.
It's not the end all be all. Use it as a tool because it is here. It's not going anywhere, and it's only going to increase in usage, right?
Exactly. And, we as humans and entrepreneurs and creators, we cannot lose our ability to have critical thinking, right? Like that's the lazy part of using AI, where you just accept what it puts out there.
The heart and the gut.
Right.
The heart and
right.
the gut.
It's like, as a journalist, we're taught to question everything.
Sure.
Trust but verify, but mostly verify and don't trust. Right.
Right.
Like it's just part of the practice. But let's go back for a second and talk about what you guys do at Code and Trust. Like we're sitting here talking around, like we're not quite like, let's talk about what you guys do. And then I want to get into, like you have a lot of mantras, right? A lot of things that drive you. Community is one of those, right? So I want to get into that next. And then I want to talk about like the hardest part of entrepreneurship is not the ideas and the passion and the drive. It's the execution. And what you have proved, at least twice, is that the execution is the key. And you have done it, maybe not flawlessly, but you have done it. And so I want to talk about that. So First of all, let's talk about what you guys do, right? We forgot that part.
Definitely not flawlessly. And I would say that's important that it wasn't flawless, right? So we could learn and be better. Code and Trust, want to start there?
Yeah, let's start there.
Sure, yeah. So Code and Trust is a ton of fun, and it's been a really great moment. I got to learn from a software company within Charleston. So I mentioned the payroll company.
Yep.
I made a shift to this startup that moved from 5 to 20 to 100 to eventually 500 employees, and then sold to Booz Allen. And I was drawn and pulled in and gravitated because of the culture. Culture was not really a thing I knew as a young 20-something-year-old, but that's what it was. And I started there actually as a facility intern thing person. I don't even know how to term what I was doing. I just wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And so I was actually building chairs, just office chairs, because they needed more because they were hiring so many people, and I was terrible at it. But eventually moved into sales, and that's really set me up for this moment. But it's along the way, again, in the idea of running to people, I've just met so many awesome individuals, and it's become bring the smart people I've met in life along with me. And so as I think about what Code and Trust does, our team is not replicatable. Our team is our differentiation, and that's the beginning and end of it, right? And so, whether it's a Brad who was at Spark with me, or Ryan who I just happened to meet at a restaurant, and bringing them along and redefining roles and doing things differently, that's what it's all about. But at the end of the day, we're about a very buttoned up, phased approach, if you will. Conversations start in the sales discovery process. And so I'll be the one with a lot of the information about what's the problem that you need us to solve with tech, right? And that's where we start. And then it moves into, okay, based on the details we know, what's the range of magnitude for how long it's going to take, the cost, and then it moves into phase one, which is now pause the script, and we want to talk about the big grandiose vision. We want to know everything as much as possible that's in that entrepreneur's head, because we've got to get on the same page. And so we start there, and the idea is to converge and meet then in the middle, so that we can understand now what's the distilled down version of that. What's the MVP, the minimal monetizable slice that can go out in the world and prove someone's going to pay $1 for the thing. So we incorporate design, market research, sales enablement, all on the front end before we touch a line of code. Now, AI has allowed us to generate mock apps in the process, and it's been really cool to have that, because now in the sales process, we can create tangibility around vision.
Right.
And then we work with diverse clients, from jail management software to bourbon barrel ordering. We do large enterprise clients all the way to scrappy entrepreneurs, and scrappy entrepreneurs we love, and we love injecting classical enterprise teams with our scrappy nature. That's where we get really excited.
When you're working, and I love scrappy entrepreneurs too, right? So, having had these experiences and you've developed these processes for code and trust, what would you say, what lessons have you learned going through this and being a founder and an entrepreneur? Like, what have you learned that you wish you would have known when you first started out?
Sure. Team is everything, right? Team, culture. You hear it all the time, but it feels like until you kind of misstep on some hires, it doesn't really, you don't feel it in your gut, right? You don't feel it in your heart. You have to have that failure moment. Business partners are important, right? Bad partnerships can fail the greatest of ideas. And so, my business partner and I, we're very close friends, and we hang out, and we both go to church, and we share faith together. And we've been through shit together is the best way to put it. And we've grown our relationship. Again, life to me is being friends and meeting people, and then working together to solve a common good when your common good that you want to impact aligns.
When we're talking about culture, especially in today's sort of virtual environment, right? Mm-hmm. How do you, are there some key elements to building a culture of excellence, right? Because we are, culture is being destroyed by AI and by our, the lack of interaction among humans, right? What you said culture is important, but let's talk about how and why. How do you build that culture?
Yeah, so great question. Not an expert, but I've read a lot about it, right? And I've failed. That's where I've learned the most.
Okay.
Right? And I would say there's always going to be areas for opportunity. The biggest, so through that frame of lens of where I've failed and where I'm still working to get closer to what I would deem successful, right, is communication. It all starts with communication. And so for us, it's a differentiation from a sales perspective, but also for our culture is 98% of our staff all report to the same office in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We're all in the same building because the speed of innovation is like this now. And tools like Slack and GChat are all great, but nothing beats that tangibility, that viral nature of having a great idea, sharing it, and then working together. You miss that moment, right? And so communication is really important.
Are you a virtual staff?
We have two individuals that are virtual. Both started at our office for several years. Just happened, life took them elsewhere. We've got one in Boston and one here in Seattle. I mean, so I have this theory. I want to ask you about this because everybody's going back to work now, back to the office, the physical, the real estate part of business. And I think it's fine, right? If that's what's important to you. But I think it is so short-sighted, right? You open up the possibility of remote employees, and there are so many ways to build culture remotely, but you're also walking away from a talent pool, right? You are giving up excellence and greatness, or the potential to reach those things. So, what is your advice? So you've got two remote people, so building that culture of excellence and also integrating a virtual mindset for work. Intentionality.
Communication,
cadence, efficiency, communication, right? And I'm not saying I do it well. Constantly trying to get better, and again, have team members and leadership team members. That's important, right? Having the right, systems in place. So check-ins is something that I'm super big on. And so for me,
what is a check-in? Walk me through that.
So the idea of check-ins is you have a scheduled 30-minute conversation. Sometimes it could be a lunch. it could be a trip like this. So, great fellowship time with Ryan, my director of operations. And we just get to hang out, and
he's cool. He's right out there.
Yeah,
right?
he's in the next room over. He's bummed because he's not the one recording this, and he didn't bring his camera equipment. But yeah, Ryan's phenomenal. But it's like, this has been an extended check-in, and this podcast is great, Amy. So please don't take this the wrong way. But like, the fellowship and the time with him is the value out of this trip, and spending time with each other is important. So it's, where are you hitting your head against the wall in work and at home too, right? Yeah. It's okay, because I've never believed in the check your home life at the door policy, because we as humans, we're not capable of doing that.
Right.
And sure, show me someone that says they do it, and if you dig far enough, I guarantee you they don't do it well.
It's impossible. I mean, it's
and
like
on the
wired.
On the remote
DNA.
thing, I was just gonna say, we as humans, we're very, very bad at reactions. And unfortunately, as humans, we often make the pendulum swing decisions. It was all the way over here. Now it's got to be all the way over here.
Yeah.
But the answer is always something in between.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And going through all of these, I mean, you speak words of wisdom, right? For some, like, I wouldn't call you a sage. I think you're too young to be a sage. You're not yet venerable.
I appreciate that.
Right.
A stand-up comedian called me a 40-year-old man-child. On stage, I got berated.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I think it's because I wore the backwards hat.
Oh, you did?
And maybe the white jeans, but it was before Labor Day.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd call you out on that too, especially the backwards hat. You can't do that anymore.
Oh, no.
Okay, make me a promise you won't do the backwards hat.
Oh, no, I might as soon as we walk out this door.
Oh, man, you're breaking my heart. But let's talk about, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are going to be inspired by your story, right? If you look back on your career, not the white pants and the backwards hat thing, which we'll have a conversation out there about, but, right, what advice do you have, right? So we've got culture, right? We've got communication. We've got creating a culture of excellence, right? And there is no simple formula for that. Mm-hmm. What other pieces of advice do you have? And, specifically on culture and being scrappy, but also in being open-minded to different people's different needs, right? Like what you were just saying.
You've got to have the processes to listen and allow individuals to communicate. And again, Slack is great, but it's got to be beyond that.
Yeah.
You've got to be very intentional with it.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, honestly, is as entrepreneurs, really everybody, not just entrepreneurs, but we need to take care of ourselves. But entrepreneurs are at the most at risk.
Yeah, they're
right?
vulnerable.
Very
and we're going to
vulnerable.
go there in a second.
Okay, you don't
I'm
want to go there yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm not done. I have more questions. So, for the people who are out there listening, right? What are the mistakes, right? And you also work with fractional C-level positions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's talk a little bit about how entrepreneurs, because bootstrapping is such a thing, the money is tight right now, right? Like the deal flow is shifting. Like, what is the benefit of bringing a fractional CTO? And take a moment and explain what that is.
Sure. I think the best way to put it is fractional technical co-founder. And so a lot of entrepreneurs that we talk to, they don't have the technical background, but maybe they're tinkering with GPT or a Rourke or a Lovable, whatever Gen AI system they might be using. But what's interesting about that is, by leaning in with strategy and our tip and how we approach humans at Code and Trust, we become friends with our clients. And it's almost, if we can kind of tell in the sales process, if we're not becoming friends, this is maybe not something that we should work on, right?
That's very interesting.
Or maybe we're not the team for you. And so we pass on quite a bit of work
because
as a result.
I'm glad you explained that, because we are right now living through the great transactional business model, right? And with a transactional business model, the culture can also become transactional, right? It's like this phenomenon. But what you're talking about is so much deeper than just a transaction, right? Like, that is a very unique mindset right now in this moment in time, right? So what are the benefits of not being transactional in your relationships with your customers?
Sure, yeah. I mean, in our early days, we've been around for 8 years or so now, but in our early days, there were 2 or 3 occasions we got into a phase 1, and so the client shows up with a check, and they, these were local Charleston companies or entrepreneurs, and we'd sit with them when we start to, talk through their ideas, talk through their vision, and we go away and do competitive research. What are competitors doing well? Are there competitors, right? Because that's market validation.
Right.
We actually hope to see competitors, not no competitors. That's a much scarier place to be. But 2 or 3 times we've gone and done that research after hearing an entrepreneur's vision, and we go back and like, there's nothing here.
Right.
This is not an opportunity for the entrepreneur to go down. And sometimes the conversation has been around pivoting, and sometimes it's just, here's your check back. There's nothing for us to build. We are probably not the team for it, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's
right.
okay, right? But the long-term relationships, and that's something we use in our, I don't like using the term sales pitch, but in our shtick, if you will, is that we're not in it for the transaction. There's hundreds, thousands of software dev shops. We're also not a dev shop, right? Because those are transactional. We want to do the MVP, the minimal monetizable slice. We want to make your use of funds more efficient, effective, because you're going to go grow an awesome product, go out in the world, do awesome things, and have impact. And now you're going to trust us, and you'll come back for advice. You'll come back for helping you connect dots. Even if it's not something that we do in-house, we can help bring in our partners. And so we do tend to act like a venture studio as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously as the platform grows and pivots, we're there to help build things as well.
Right. Okay, now we're going to slide into, in the short time that we were speaking, sort of in the speaker ready area, one of the core pieces to who you are right now is this idea of taking care of yourself as an entrepreneur, right? And it's been an idea that's been around for a while. Because as an entrepreneur, you are vulnerable, right? Because you are working, you're pouring everything you have, money, your soul, your brain power, your sweat equity into this idea, right? And so let's talk about what that means to you and how that your own experience kind of drives that philosophy.
Yeah, it's really managing the ebbs and flows, because the highs are high and the lows are lows.
There are no ebbs and flows, right? It's all ebbs or flows when you're an entrepreneur, because it's like an addiction.
Yeah,
right.
No, it
is, and I've seen it.
It's a dopamine hit, right?
It is.
And so the question becomes, where do you get your dopamine hits?
Right.
Really, at the end of the day, and so. On that side of it, I heard this great phrase, it's pretty ubiquitous, but it's exhaust the body, tame the mind. So taking care of your mind, body, and soul, it's vital. You can't be effective, and that's work and at home, if you're not taking care of yourself, whether it's overcoming addictions like alcohol. Working out, exercise is important. No matter how seemingly small, get on the Peloton and ride for 30 minutes every day, right? Run, whatever you might do. That's something that has really helped me a lot. I've been pretty bad about the exercise part the past 90 days, but we'll get back to it here. But then it's also the taming your mind part. You've got to have self-awareness, self-introspection time. And be thinking clearly, so you react appropriate ways. Our reactions drive perceptions of us, right?
Yeah. It's hard to, when you're in it, right, as an entrepreneur or whatever, you as a human, right? It's hard to have the self-awareness to take a step back and have that introspection, right? Because that would mean slowing down or taking a pause. But I'm telling you, I've seen founders burn out at the age of 28, and never recover from it, right? Yeah. And so, what are your techniques that you would recommend to entrepreneurs who are in the burnout phase, 6 months into a startup?
Sure. The first one is purge addictions, right?
Which is very easy to say.
It's very easy to say,
right?
Tough to do, but you've got to take care of yourself first again, right? And so there's a drinking culture. A lot of addiction culture associated with entrepreneurship, right? And so the way it's tough, to your point, when you're in the moment, to be self-aware, because you have to again, you have to tame your mind.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is community. It's not a singular mentor. It's not a mentor that's, oh man, this is the director of blah 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 at Google, right? It's people that are peers that you can interact with on the fly and hit a panic button should you need to. And so then you're not just relying on your self-awareness, but you're relying on your peer network, the community around you, to hold you accountable, and help guide you, and again, give you validation one way or the other, and say, hey, I see you going down a dangerous path, or hey, have you thought about this before? And that's where the moment I'm in, if you had told me 2 years ago that I would have days where there's maybe 3 hours of coffee where we're going to talk about faith, right? My relationship is closer than it's ever been with God. But we're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about each other, what's going on, and work might not come up, right? And that's okay. And that's almost even more so valuable,
right?
Probably more valuable than any business conversation I could have had otherwise. And so being intentional, setting up those conversations, and make them recurring. Don't make it a one-time thing. And also be aware that, when I walk into those, I'm a talker, clearly.
I hadn't noticed.
I start off now, and this is where the sobriety for me has really helped. But I start off by listening, and I think I ask a similar question to you. I've done this with several entrepreneurs we met here. What's keeping you up late at night? And I pause there, and someone will say, oh, is that personal or professional? It's like, whichever one you want to share, right? And asking that question, the answer you get back is how you can help somebody. And it doesn't mean selling them a thing, but maybe you help them connect dots. And if you just continue to do that, you help yourself, you help others, right? So being intentional is really important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's, mental health is such an important topic for entrepreneurs. And we were talking a little while ago about Brad Feld, who's a VC in Boulder, right? He's my homie in my hometown. And he wrote a couple books about entrepreneurship and depression, right? And how bleak it can be when you feel alone, right? And so that sense of community, and it's not going to be faith for everyone, Andrew. I mean, you were lucky that you found that, right? I think the key is, find your people and find that center, right, that will allow you to find balance and health and quiet, right, and that peace. But it's super important that it's not always going to be a faith-based thing for entrepreneurs, right? But maybe it will. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you find that clarity, right? Like that, what you have, right? Like you just radiate joy, right? Like it's it's very nice to be around you because you have a positive, optimistic energy.
That's important. The optimism, right? It's
hope.
Correct. It's tough to be around pessimistic people, and there's a lot of pessimism floating around out there these days.
It is.
And it's contagious.
Right.
As is optimism.
I was going to say, but as an optimistic person myself, like choosing optimism is so much better, right, than the alternative, which is pessimism, right? That is a dark, you kind of turn into an asshole, right? Like, we've been around a lot of assholes in our lives, and, it's so much better and much more productive as an entrepreneur to find that hope, that optimism. There's always something to get out of bed for, right? Even if you have to pivot off of your original idea.
But those moments are dark. There are plenty of them, and I can remember times, several years back when my drinking was out of control. And
that makes everything darker, though, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness! You want to talk? I mean, GPT is one rabbit hole, but dangerous rabbit holes are drinking, because it doesn't stop, and you're staying up late. It
makes everything
worse.
And then
it carries over, but you feel alone, right? And so there's definitely been times where it's like, you're trying to find the dollars to make payroll. Luckily, we never missed it, but we were certainly close. And then and at times it's like I had to stop taking checks, as did my business partner. And it's really tough to explain that to a wife. We were talking about kids. 3 kids, twins.
Twins.
And a daughter, right, that you just want to spoil as much as you possibly can. And as expensive as everything is, it's tough to not get a paycheck.
Yes.
But you let the rest of the team eat first, because holy terrifying if you have to walk in and say,
but you got to
"We
find a
can't
way
make
to
payroll."
pay yourself too. And
Yes.
I know that because I'm married to a serial entrepreneur, right? And I know what that looks like when you're I was the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine, and my husband was like a serial, like he couldn't stop. It was almost like an addiction, right?
Sure.
Like just keep going and going and going. And those days where he's like, I can't make payroll, right? And so he didn't pay himself, and therefore he didn't, paid in the household account. But I kept looking at him going, and I was writing about entrepreneurs. I'm like, that does not look that fun.
It's not
right?
glamorous.
I'm not really sure I want to do that, But he always found a way out because he was optimistic. He wasn't a fatalist, right?
That's right.
Like he just found a way. And, it's not always pretty. It is not the glamorous, Richard Branson boats and bikinis, right? Like it is some scrappy hours, right?
Yeah.
But it gets in your soul. And if you're an entrepreneur, that's just what you're going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you do it right, the scrappy hours are where it gets real fun.
Yeah.
Our CTO, Pate, and I, it's not uncommon. And actually, a bunch of team members on the team will show up on a Saturday or Sunday, as long as the wife says it's okay, right?
Right.
And we'll show up on a Saturday and Sunday, and it's sometimes we'll be working on client work, sometimes we'll be tinkering.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're inventing, though, right? And so it's that nice injection of invention is really fun, and it gives you an optimistic, a fun dopamine hit, right? And then because we do have enterprise projects, and they are tedious, and they do take a very long time, and you can't insert as much AI, right? At the moment, it's just not there yet. You still can, but it's the typical manual coding for the most part, right? But sprinkling in that fun and having an environment where you want to invent and you want to be with each other. Brad, our director of product, says, I want to have 2 beers with the person, because you can have 1 beer with anybody, but 2 means we're going to hang out and we're going to talk, right?
Exactly. And what you're talking about is so important right now. And that is, there are scientific studies that show the impact of playfulness on creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship. And it is epic, right? Like if you look at Lego, right? Lego is a family-owned business. It's Danish, all this stuff. They have a culture of playfulness, right? Where you just get to sit and play around with Legos, or go have a coffee, or I don't know, do something Danish. But it puts your guards down when you allow for a playfulness within your culture, right? And that playfulness creates trust, and it creates an openness to inventiveness. That's a very clunky statement I just made. I apologize.
I like it.
No,
though.
it was really not good, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is, with AI and with the chilling, right, effect of AI on our culture and our emotions, the inclusion of playfulness into a culture, I think, is critical.
I completely agree. It creates this childlike moment where you break down,
right?
Like CEO, CTO, whatever you are, and you're just a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where invention comes from.
Yes.
Right? You can't create, like, I just remember at Entrepreneur, they would put me like, we need you to create something right now. We need you cannot create on demand, right? It has to be an organic process. That's where all greatness comes from, right? Is that organic, that essence of who you are, right? Your company as a founder will always take on the essence of who you are, right? And so, I don't know, be better, be great, be playful, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you for hanging out with me this morning.
Amy, such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My goodness, that was a hoot. Really, let's go have some coffee. No backwards hats, though.
Yeah, it's already packed in the bag. Don't worry, it's not coming out. The hair looks too good right now.
Thank you so
Thank you, Amy.
much. What a lovely way to start the day.